Hey there, this is Wolfrost, and this is my video on how to get the best possible armor class with every starting class in the game in Baldur's Gate 3. There were a lot of starting classes, so for the sake of not spending too long in this video, I decided to do most of it in one take, outside of a little bit at the start where I explain what racial proficiencies for armor and shields are. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video, and yeah. Let's get started. There are 4 races in Baldur's Gate 3 which get proficiency in either light armor, medium armor, or shields, which you can see on the right over here. Those races are specifically humans, half-elves, dwarfs, and Githyanki. But with dwarfs, it's specific to one of the sub-races, specifically shield dwarfs, who get light armor and medium armor, with Githyanki also getting light armor and medium armor, and humans and half-elves both getting light armor and shields. That'll be relevant for most of this video, so just a thing to note. All the other races do not get any proficiencies in any armor or shield types. Starting from the beginning, Barbarian has starting armor proficiencies in light armor, medium armor, and shields. For medium armor, you can get armor with armor class of 15 plus dex really easily by stealing it from one of the starting companions. You can also get some pretty easily from some of the merchants at the beginning of the game. You then add a dex bonus of at least +2 from having a dexterity of at least 14, and you add a shield, which you're proficient with, for another +2, which brings you up to a total of 19 armor class, potentially. But you ask, I want to be sneaky, and medium armor reduces my, gives me disadvantage on my stealth rolls. Well, a level 4 take the feat medium armor master, which gives you no stealth disadvantage from medium armor. Problem solved. And also up to a +3 bonus from your dex now, which can bring you up to a total of 20 armor class, given that you can now get a +3 from your dex. Alternatively, you can use the Barbarian's passive, which lets you use your con and your dex bonus to boost your armor class, assuming you are not wearing any other armor. With 16 dex and 16 con, this brings you up to a potential total of 18 armor class, by having a +3 bonus from your dex, +3 bonus from your con, and using a shield. But no armor is required, so it does not mess with your ability to sneak around and be stealthy. Bards. Alright, Bards have starting proficiencies in light armor, which is better than nothing, I guess. I mean, you know, it's something. With a dexterity of 16 and probably also a charisma of 16. On a side note, for future builds in this, note that whatever I don't mention, whatever casting stat you need for your primary stat should probably also be 16 alongside dex. There's going to be a lot of builds where dexterity should be 16, and your other high stat should be your casting stat. Anyway, yeah, you probably want some sort of magical light armor, realistically. Like, a light armor goes anywhere from like 11 to 13, whether it's sort of the starting leather armor, or maybe studded leather at 12, or maybe some magical leather. You might be able to find something with 13 a bit later on. Add your dex bonus to +3, +2 from a shield, which you'd get from a racial proficiency, and you'd have somewhere between 16 and 18 armor class. If you had racial proficiency in medium armor, you could get a 15 +2 from your dexterity to get up to 17, which is not bad. But wait! College of Valor and College of Swords both give armor proficiencies. College of Valor gives medium armor and shields, and College of Swords gives medium armor. And then you can grab a shield proficiency from your race. With that, you can pretty easily get 15 +2 from your dex, +2 from a shield, to bring you up to 19 armor class. And with medium armor master, that can even go up to 20, getting a +3 from your dex instead. Clerics. Clerics start with proficiency in light armor, medium armor, and shields. Life, Nature, Tempest, and War Domain clerics also have proficiency in heavy armor. Heavy armor has a pretty wide range of potential stats, going anywhere from like 14 to over 20 armor class. So some of the really late game armor class. Some of the really late game armor you can get. They are generally harder to get though, so as a rule of thumb. And they don't give you any bonuses from your dexterity. So, we can do the usual. We can use medium armor, 15 +2 from dex, +2 from a shield, brings you up to 19, or 20 if you've got medium armor master, and 16 dex. Heavy armor can give you whatever the armor gives, +2 from your shield, doesn't require any dex, and basically can give you a pretty wide range, from 16 to much higher numbers. Although again, the high end we're talking much later in the game. Now, I've got some thoughts on heavy armor. Medium armor is basically better early on if you've got at least 14 dex. The main goal of heavy armor is to not rely on your dex. It does pay off in the long run. It generally does have some pretty high armor values for some of the much later game heavy armors, but it's also pretty expensive, so, you know, ups and downs. Heavy Armor Master is also an incredible feat. It decreases damage from non-magical attacks by 3 while wearing heavy armor. This is in and of itself a reason to take heavy armor. It's pretty good, but, you know, ups and downs. Some things to consider when you decide what armor you want to wear. Anyway, on to Druid. Druids have proficiency in light armor, medium armor, and shields. So again, 15 plus dex plus shields to get to a total of 19. With medium armor master, you can get up to 20. But wait, what about Bark Skin, I hear you ask? That incredible Druid spell that gives you 16 base armor. Well, 16 base armor plus 2 from shield brings you up to 18. At least you're not relying on your dex. But, honestly, it's just kind of worse, and it burns a spell slot. Does mean you can potentially, you know, dump dex and use another stat, though, which is kind of interesting, so I'll give it that. Alright, Fighter. Fighter has all the armor proficiencies, so you can use medium armor, you can get up to 19 with what we've done before, basically. You can get up to whatever you want to do with heavy armor, based on whatever heavy armor you happen to find. Again, I'm going to keep showing a range for heavy armor, and I keep quoting a specific number for medium armor. The reason being that it's very easy to get medium armor. It gives you 15 plus dex, but with heavy armor, it's pretty rare to find ones that give particularly good armor values, and I honestly just want to make heavy armor feel like it's less bad. But wait, I hear you ask. There are fighting styles. There are indeed. And the best one for getting AC at least is the defense fighting style, which just gives you +1 to your armor class whenever you are wearing armor. Stick that on a character with medium armor, and suddenly you can comfortably hit 20. With heavy armor, you can also get a bonus and hit whatever weird values you happen to hit based on what heavy armor you find. With a monk, monks don't need armor. Monks can just use their wisdom and their dex to get up to a nice comfortable 16. They can also use a shield if they've got a proficiency from their racial proficiencies, bring them up to a potential 18 armor class. Side note, while Baldur's Gate 3 is based on D&D 5th edition in terms of its rules, and while Monk in D&D 5th edition can't use a shield while benefiting from their natural armor, in Baldur's Gate you can, so might as well use it. On a side note, there's a really interesting monk build that I threw together on one of my playthroughs. Basically, I ended up taking Tavern Brawler, building big strength. You get to double your strength bonus for rolls to hit and damage with unarmed strikes and also improvised weapons. It becomes very silly, you can throw people about, it's very entertaining. If you want to do something like that, you might want to look at getting medium armor proficiency from the Fleet Moderately Armored. To do that, you'll have to have light armor proficiency, which you can pick up from starting, for example, as a half-elf or a human, who both get light armor and shields as proficiencies, and then you can pick up medium armor with the Moderately Armored feat from there. I might make a future video on that build. It's pretty entertaining, but it's probably not worth talking about here. Anyway, next up we've got Paladin. They're basically fighters. There's nothing else to say. Rangers are fighters that can't wear heavy armor, so again, heavy armor's not particularly great anyway. I would just look at the fighter part, medium armor. Rogues. Now, rogues have got proficiency in light armor. Well, we already kind of know how that goes. We've seen the bard part before. Just ignore the bit that I mentioned about the subclasses. So you'll probably just be pumping points into your dex, so you'll wear some light armor. Light armor will have somewhere between 11 and 13 armor class based on what you find, +3 from your dex, +2 from a shield, which you'd have proficiency with based on a racial proficiency, brings you from somewhere between 16 and 18 armor class. You could take the moderately armored feat, but honestly, I wouldn't. It ruins your stealth. You'd need another feat to fix that. By the time you've got that, you're level 8. you've wasted 2 feats just to get reasonable armor class. If you do that, I mean, you can look at the part 2 in the Bard section. I wouldn't necessarily go down that route, but hey, up to you. But wait, there's more. Arcane Trickster has access to a bunch of spells, and amongst them, it gets 2 of the best spells for armor class. One of them is Mage Armor, which gives you base armor class of 13 when not wearing armor. It lasts until a long rest, and it does not require concentration, which is great. You also get access to Shields, which is honestly an incredible spell. It gives you +5 to your armor class as a reaction to possibly being hit. So if an enemy would hit you, it'll give you a prompt, ask you if you want to spend a spell slot, and if you do, you gain a +5 to your armor class until your next turn. This is really useful and can give you some crazy high armor values if you need them. So basically, with this, you'll get 13 armor class from Mage Armor, +3 from your Dex, +2 from a shield, which you're proficient with from your race, brings you up to 18 armor class and up to 23 as a reaction if you use shields. Sorcerer. Sorcerer has no armor proficiencies, but that's fine because Draconic Bloodline gives you a base armor class with no armor of 13. With that, and shield proficiency from your race, you can get an armor class of 13, +3 from Dex, +2 from your shield, brings you up to a total of 18 potentially. Alternatively, as mentioned just before, with Rogue, you can use Mage Armor. Does pretty much the same thing, 13 base, plus your Dex, and lasts until a long rest. Does cost a spell slot, but means you can pick a different starting bloodline or different starting sorceress origin, if that is something that you want to change. So yeah, basically equally valid options. And as mentioned previously, we have our good friend Shields. The spell, not the, you know what I mean. Anyway, next up we've got Warlock. They have starting proficiencies in light armor. They also can get medium armor or shield proficiency from racial bonuses. You probably want to take shield proficiency. You can pick up moderately armored feat later on if you want the medium armor, but it's very hard to get shield proficiency. So, medium armor proficiency from your starting race would give you a potential of 15 +2 from your Dex, brings you up to 17, or 18 if you got medium armor master and a Dex of 16. With a shield proficiency from your race, you get 11 to 13 from your starting armor with starting light armors, +3 from your Dex, +2 from your shield, brings you from anywhere from 16 to 18 armor class. Once you hit level 4, you could take the moderately armored feat. That would bring you up to a potential of 15 +2 from your Dex, +2 from a shield, brings you up to 19. Yeah, generally, I would recommend taking shield proficiencies from your race over medium armor proficiencies, because it's much harder to pick up shield proficiency later on without multiclassing. You can multiclass into fighter or a couple of other classes that do it, but I'll cover multiclassing in another video. For now, I'm just going to stick to what you can do with single mono classes. Alright, there's also one other method as Warlock, and that method is using Eldritch Invocations. So at level 2 you get 2 Eldritch Invocations. One of these that you can pick is Armor of Shadows, which is basically Mage Armor with unlimited casts. Not that that hugely matters, because it lasts until your next long rest and doesn't require concentration. So it basically only stops if your character just straight up gets knocked down and has to be revived. Which gives you, this gives you 13 base AC, 13 plus your Dex, plus your shields, which you're proficient with from your race, gives you 18 potential armor class. Also, probably should mention it here, Fiendish Vigor is the best Eldritch Invocation. It just lets you gain 7 temporary hit points as an action with unlimited use. Doesn't cost you anything, you can spam it as much as you like. On a side note, temporary hit points just refresh themselves if you cast it again, so you can't gain more than 7, but it means that you always have these 7 hit points that you can just lose and then regain at will. Saves you so much healing, it's incredible. Alright, next up we've got Wizard. We've already basically said almost all of that what needs to be said in all the other classes. You use Mage Armor to give yourself a base of 13, you get your Dex bonus of +3, and you get your shield proficiency from your race to get another +2 from holding a shield, brings you up to a total of 18 armor class. and then you've got the shield spell to potentially give yourself more of a bonus from there.